Hi ARK fans, welcome to ARK Invest Daily. Today is March 13th, which is Saturday. Hopefully you're having a great weekend so far. On Saturdays, we generally try to do previous week's summary. We try to get you the biggest moves, the companies that they are invested in, any new company they added in previous week. But we are not able to do that this week because they have not uploaded Friday's data yet on their website. And I've sent them email about it. Hopefully they'll upload it, and tomorrow we'll be able to do weekly summary. But in lieu of that, we'll go over Spotlight series. We'll switch places with Sunday and do Spotlight series. But by the way, they do send latest trades in emails if you subscribe to them. But that's an incomplete list, and I would rather give you complete data. So instead, we are switching places. We are going for Spotlight series, guys. And today, Spotlight is on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is gaining momentum, it's gaining attention, it's on everybody's radar. A lot of influencers are talking about it, and I wanted to share what I know about it, and get a lot of people interested and get started with Bitcoin, and they can do their own, so that you guys can do your own due diligence and research more about it. Now, in many ways, many of us are Jon Snow. We don't know much about it, but whatever we know, I'll hopefully get you started with it at least. And people who don't know what I'm talking about in terms of Jon Snow, it's a character from Game of Thrones, and he doesn't know anything, guys. So that's why I'm just saying we know nothing. We we are Jon Snow. But actually, hopefully with this short video, I'm able to get you started, get you interested in Bitcoin. I'm definitely super bullish in it. I feel it is the currency of tomorrow, just because lots of countries these days, they just print dollars, they just print money, their currency, in order to solve a problem. So currently it's COVID situation. Lots of countries are just printing money to solve that problem. But in future, this printing money is going to cause a lot of adverse effects. It causes inflation and other so many issues that side effects that you'll see in future. So I do think Bitcoin is the answer to all these issues, and hopefully it's just matter of when this will become mainstream. We know it will become mainstream if you read about it, if you hear about it from lots of influential people who know what they're talking about, who know where they're investing, who don't like to lose their money, and are invested heavily in Bitcoin. Obviously, it's from Kathy Woods to Chamath Palihapitiya to Elon Musk, to Jim Cramer to Scott Galloway. So many people who are invested in Bitcoin, and who didn't know much about it until very recent time. So with this video, my goal is to get you started with Bitcoin. So let's start with some interesting numbers. In US, 90% of the people have heard about it, about Bitcoin. 9% own it, but get this, only 1% understand it. So yes, many people own it but don't understand it. And these are the numbers for US. Think about countries like China and India that have half of the world population. I'm sure in India, not even 0.0001% of the people who own it understand it. So let's try to understand what Bitcoin really is, and also take a look at the timeline to see what are the various milestones that it has been through already and what's expected in future. Now, in order to understand Bitcoin, we are going to compare it with gold mining. And many people will say, why are you comparing it with gold, which is a real thing, whereas this is just on papers? I'll take it a step further. It's not even on papers. It's a digital currency, but it helps to understand Bitcoin when we are comparing it with gold. So let's try to do that. When you're mining gold, you know it is limited quantity of gold that is present in earth, but how much is that limited quantity? We don't know that. So it's limited but unknown quantity. Whereas on digital mining side, we know that it is limited and how much it is. So there will always be only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be found. So there is this one up already on digital mining side compared to gold mining, that we know how much it will be. On mining side, you need a lot of big machinery to dig holes to extract gold. Whereas on digital mining side, you need specialized software and hardware. And we'll get into it in a little bit, what that specialized software and hardware does. And this thing also is common in both the worlds, that it is increasingly hard to find. Once you find some gold, once you find some Bitcoins, the next batch is always a little bit more difficult to find. So let's get a little bit deeper into what is software and hardware and how specialized they are and what do they really do. So in order to understand this specialized software and hardware, and in general this concept of Bitcoin, let's try to solve this problem first. There is this lock which has combination of just 4 digits right now that you have to guess. And if you're able to open it, you get a reward. And if you're able to open it, get a reward, then there will be a new one which will have 5 digits. And if you're able to guess that, you'll get more rewards. And it keeps on going like that. So this software essentially does the same thing. And by the way, there are no clues, no hints, no logic to solve it. You just keep trying all the combination until you get lucky. The software does exactly the same thing, except it does it to much bigger number, and the reward it gets is a bunch of bitcoins in the end. Now, so that's what the overall concept of Bitcoin is. The specialized hardware and software tries to solve a problem, and if once it solves it, you get a reward. And it's not just one person doing it. There are millions and millions of machines that are together trying to do it. And whichever machine wins, whichever machine gets lucky in guessing the correct sequence, that one gets the reward. Now, as this problem gets more and more difficult, these machines consume more and more electricity, more and more resources, more and more CPU power, memory power in order to solve the problem. So the processing power over past few years has gone exponentially up. So that's essentially what Bitcoin is. This whole concept of mining, but done digitally. Now, if that was not enough, every time you open that locker, not every time, but after every n number of times you open that locker, the reward is reduced to half. So say, for example, in past, if these algorithms that are running, the software that is running, it opens a box, it used to get 25 bitcoins. In future, at some point, it will get only 12 and a half. I think right now, if you solve it, you get 12 and a half. And then after n number of times, I don't know what that n is right now, but you can Google search it. After that n number of opens again, it will be reduced in half again. So it will be 6.25. And it will keep going until if the current if all this processing keeps on going at the current rate, the last Bitcoin will be found sometimes in February 21st century. I'm blanking on the year, but 100 years later or something. So that's how this mining, this digital mining, is supposed to work and mimic the actual mining. Now, don't fret, mining is not the only option. Even though it is still very lucrative option, it takes about $4,000 to $5,000 is what Google says to mine one Bitcoin, which is worth $60,000. If you don't want to do that, you can simply buy it, or you can receive it in exchange of product or services. Like Elon Musk said, he will be making his products available in exchange of Bitcoin. Tesla cars available in exchange of Bitcoin in future is what they're saying. So that's the concept of Bitcoin, guys. Now let's take a look at the timeline real quick. Some of the super interesting things have happened. So let's start with 2008, when it was introduced first to the world by Satoshi Nakamoto. Who that person is, whether it's a completely fictitious name, nobody knows. He never came forward. But to this date, he has some 1.1 million Bitcoin that he mined in first 7 months. And those are worth millions and millions of dollars. Well, the very first coin was mined in 2009. And 2010, the very first actual transaction, real world transaction happened. Some 10,000 Bitcoins were exchanged for 2 pizzas. Yeah, a little bit of silence there. Can you believe that, guys? 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas. And in 2011, it reached $1. One Bitcoin was worth $1. And there was this story of a car transaction that happened. Somebody sold his or her 30,000 Bitcoins to buy a Mazda sedan. Super interesting again, but nobody knows whether those are true or not. Pizza transaction is heard many a times, and it's available. That person is real and is present on internet. This story particularly, you can Google search it. In 2013 and 14, in 2013 it reached, first time Bitcoin reached 1 billion market cap. And 2014 exchange was hacked. And because of that, people stopped trusting it, and it went into a bear market for a number of years ahead. 2017 was when it first entered its major bull run, and the price reached $19,000. And I was also invested in it at that point. And then it started crashing, so I sold it for a little bit of profit. Now I wish I did not sell it, but that's the reality. It crashed down to $3,200. And 2018 was when Square, a financial company started by Jack Dorsey, Twitter CEO, started allowing users to buy and sell Bitcoin. And then in 2020 is when it had its next major bull run towards the end of the year, starting in, I think, September or August timeframe, when MicroStrategy company, ticker symbol MSTR, that started converting its balance sheet cash into Bitcoins. Square followed the suit. I think Square was the first one to do that, and then MicroStrategy followed the suit. And then 2021, Tesla invested in it. So that was a major breakthrough as well for Bitcoin. They invested in it when it was some 40,000 something. And MicroStrategy and Square kept on buying more and more of Bitcoin. So that's how that timeline looked so far. Let's talk about some of the famous personalities who own Bitcoin and are very bullish on it. And these personalities are not just some Hollywood personalities. These are personalities from finance world, from investing world. They know what they're talking about. They have researched about it, and they don't like to lose money. So this is just very specific set of very influential and celebrity status people that I'm talking about. Kathy Wood of ARK Invest fame, we all know, is very bullish on Bitcoin, have big position in it. Chamath Palihapitiya, again, SPAC king, very bullish on Bitcoin. He always talks about it as a hedge against the market, which is this is an asset for him that is not affected by market. Then you have Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, Square. They have converted their those two companies converted their balance sheet cash position to Bitcoin. I don't know by how much, but they keep on buying more and more. MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor has converted MicroStrategy's cash on balance sheet to Bitcoin too. It keeps on buying more and more. It keeps on buying the dips. Jim Cramer, the Booyah man, he was never really a Bitcoin pro, but more recently has started talking nicely about it and is invested in it perhaps. I have to catch up on his latest interviews, but what I hear is he's bullish on Bitcoin too, including Professor Funny Bones, Mr. Scott Galloway. He is very bullish on Bitcoin also. And obviously, the god, Mr. Elon Musk, he recently bought, his company Tesla recently bought 1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin when it was in somewhere in 40,000 range, and now it's in 60,000 range. Well, it touched 60,000. It's not in 60,000 range yet. So, yeah, whatever he touches turns to gold, and he touched Bitcoin, guys. So watch out for that. Next, S-curve. Well, before we go into S-curve, let me tell you a little bit about it. S-curve is a curve that is used to see or visualize the adoption of any new technology. So if we take the same timeline of Bitcoin and place it on an S-curve here on the horizontal axis, if you see, from 2008 to 2100s, when the last Bitcoin will be found, is what they say. If we keep going on the current pace, the last one will be found in 2100 sometime. Now, the initial people who actually created this currency or created the technology are called as innovators. And then there are some early adopters in this time range. When it comes to some 10% of people being on that technology, that's when this inflection point happens and this curve really goes up. The first half of it is called as early majority, and the second half is called as late majority. This is when majority of people climb on the wagon. And then after that are the laggards, who basically come on the platform or join the bandwagon a little bit late. Now, I think, this is my opinion, we are in 2021, we are at this point, we are at the inflection point. There is a slew of companies looking at Bitcoin that will probably be converting their cash, or at least 1%, 1 to 5% of their company's worth into Bitcoin. And this particular decade is going to be super interesting to watch out for. Ultimately, as Michael Saylor says, it should reach $5 million per Bitcoin sometime in 50 years or whatever. But I'm hopeful that it will reach at least $100,000. Right now it's $60,000. Hopefully it reaches $100,000 by 2030 at least. Most people say that it will do that by 2025 itself. But yeah, Is this really the future? Who knows? Will it replace the ever diluting currencies of various countries? I think yes, but we'll find out together. So that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much. If ARK Invest uploads the data for February, sorry, for March 12th, that is Friday, then I'll do weekly summary tomorrow. So watch out for that.